I am very excited about today's little scrappy and cute and fun project. I don't know about you, but I am a glasses wearer. I mean, I'm wearing contacts right now, but I do wear glasses and I wear sunglasses, and I have been really wanting to get a nicer pair of like polarized sunglasses, but I am the absolute worst at just tossing the sunglasses in my bag or into the car or all over the place without a care. And I think that might be because I buy cheap sunglasses. My mind just doesn't care. But also because I don't have a case for them. And I don't like fussy hard cases that weigh a lot and you have to use two hands to open, you know, because it's just who I am. One-handed tasks only for me. So what I did was I decided to copy this Old Faithful felted wool glasses case my parents brought me from Mongolia like years ago. This is the little case my actual glasses reside in when I'm not wearing them. And I like it because I just slide them in, slide them out. It's not going to scratch them up, etc. So I'm Nikki, this is Pin Cut. So today we're going to make cute, scrappy, fun, non-fussy glasses cases. So the reason I stipulated non-fussy was because my first iteration looks like this, and you can see it has this fancy quilt binding. It has a snap, but the quilt binding is just for something like this that's small and you maybe want to batch sew some for gifts. I felt like making binding was kind of just maybe a little too much for this kind of project, because, you know, there's like several steps to making binding. And then also it just doesn't look that nice from the front when you stitch it by machine on the other side. And also the snap, it's sort of hard to close it when there's sunglasses in here. Like that could scratch sunglasses, which defeats the purpose. So my next iteration is more like this. Super cute, super easy. You can use scraps to make this. Whoopsie. You can get creative with the fabrics on the inside and the outside. And it has a tiny Velcro square and no binding. So this is what we're gonna make today. You can hop over to my shop and buy the printable version of this tutorial with your pattern pieces, but I'm also going to give you just the measurements of the pattern pieces if you want to wing it on your own. So you don't have to buy the pattern, but it is a really convenient way to cut out the pattern pieces already made for you with their rounded little corners and have the instructions on your screen or on your desk so you don't have to refer back to the video every time. So I'll put the link to that in the very first part of the description below. Let's get started. Okay, so if you're making your own pattern piece, you need to cut 2 rectangles or one and fold it like I did. If you buy the printable pattern, your pattern pieces will look nice and finished with pretty words, but I'm just using my prototype. So you're gonna cut one rectangle 4 inches by 10 1/4 inches, and you're gonna cut one 4 inches by 7 1/2 inches. You can screenshot this if you want. Then you want to round all of the corners with just something round. I have this little pattern weight. And so there are your 2 pattern pieces. For mine, I just folded this part over into the 4 by 7 1/2. And then you're gonna need scraps of fabric. This is really fun because you can mix and match your linings and things, and they show, you know, in different places. For this project, I've been using my Ruby Star scrap bag fabrics. I've talked about these so many times before because I love them. It's like getting a surprise present in the mail when they arrive. And they're just like, I think it includes like 20 some pieces of these offcuts with the selvage. So usually there's a good 4 inches of space, and that is perfect for this project. Let me warm up my iron. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this front piece out of this fabric, and I'm gonna make both linings out of this pink. So I'm gonna do this and stack them. I think I want the strawberry on the front. So I'm going to cut out this. Okay, so for this piece, the 4 by 7 1/2 piece, you're only rounding the bottom corners. The top edge stays straight. Sorry, I forgot to say that before. Can you guys hear Natalie singing? Okay, and then I'm going to cut the back of my glasses case and a lining for that also. So this lining is the one that will show when you open it up here, and this is what I want the back to be. It's really fun to mix and match fabrics for this project. So I will cut out these pieces also. I will put a link to the Ruby Star scrap bags. I like them for these little projects because they are a thinner cotton. They're more like a cotton lawn kind of. And so they're not as bulky as some cottons can be for things like this. See if I can get these corners better this time. Nope. Why are they so hard to cut? give up. Now, we also need something to make it padded. I have this fleece interfacing. It's not the same as like polar fleece, although if that's all you have, that will work. I really prefer the fusible version of this, but they didn't have that at my store, so I have this large piece of regular fleece instead. So what I need to do is cut one of each piece of this fusible fleece. I like to just use my already cut pieces so then I can make sure they're exactly the same size. Now I am ready to sew. Okay, the first step is to layer your first pieces. So your front piece goes face up on your batting and your lining piece goes face up on top of that. And we're going to stitch across the top edge. Because we're sewing a bulky project like this, it can help so much if you have a walking foot for your sewing machine, because it keeps all of these layers together and keeps things from bunching up as you go, because it keeps things moving along at the same pace. So you have walking feet on the top and walking feet below. So if you don't know what that is, I have a whole video on the walking foot, and you will definitely want one after you watch that video because it can solve a lot of your sewing problems. So I'll link you to that. If you don't have one, just keep things nice and taut and flat as you go the best that you can. But I'm just gonna go stitch this in a 1/4 inch seam. Okay, now we can flip our lining over the front. I'm going to press this nice and flat, and then I'm going to top stitch it. Also a 1/4 inch from this edge. Alrighty, so that looks nice and neat. Next, we're going to go ahead and baste our layers together so that everything stays together nicely while we're sewing. Still with the walking foot on. When I baste things, I like to baste them a little bit inside the seam allowance, so pretty close to the edge, because I don't want to have to remove basting stitches later if they show. Okie dokie. I'm gonna trim out some of this excess batting. And now is the time to put on a piece of Velcro. I'm all out of white Velcro, so I've been using this blue. I'm just gonna cut like a 3/4 inch piece. I'm going to put the rougher side here. The reason I put the rougher side is because the sunglasses are likely to touch this side when I slide them in, and the scratchy side might scratch them. So we're gonna put this, let's see, with the top edge 1 1.25 inches down from the top, and we're gonna center it. I eyeball it, but you do what you want. If you need to, you can stick a spot of glue. Okay, and then we're just going to go sew this on around the edges. Winky doinky. This piece is done for now. So now we're going to do our back piece. For this part, the actual back that you want to show on this goes on last. So first we're going to baste our lining to our batting, just like we did on the front. Sometimes things with flaps can be pretty abstract. So we're going to, since we're not binding it, we had to figure out a way to close up all the seams without fuss. And so this will go on last. You'll see, it's like magic. Okay, so I'm gonna go use a basting stitch all the way around here. Let me once again trim my fleece to match my piece. Sometimes it just gets warped out of shape. Okay, now we're almost done already. We are going to put this piece face up onto this piece and again baste it into place around here. Now is the time. I'm going to get my backing fabric. I'm going to place it face down on top of the whole shebang. So it's sandwiched, the case is sandwiched inside. And we're going to pin or use clips. We do, however, this time we want to leave a few inches open for turning. So I like to leave about this much. How much is that? About 3 inches open on one long side. Okay, when I sew this seam, I like to do it from this side so that I can see the stitches I already made. so I don't have any missing, so I won't have any gaps or too small of seam allowances. And I can make sure that I'm hiding my basting stitches. So using a regular stitch length now, leaving this part open, I like to put 2 pins where I'm going to stop so we don't forget. I'm going to start here, back stitch, go all the way around, stop here, and back stitch. Okay, to reduce some of the bulk, especially around the curves, I'm just going to trim my seam. I am not going to trim where my opening is. That would just make things harder on myself later. But I am going to trim the rest of it. And now I'm going to turn it right side out. Use my little turning tool. Okay, now see how ugly that looks right now. This is where you gotta go press it into submission with lots of steam. You can iron it flat and make these edges roll to where they're supposed to roll. Getting these corners nice and neat. And you're gonna press this in as if you had sewn it. And we're gonna hand stitch that closed in a minute. First, I want my corners to look neat. See how nice that looks? The magic of pressing. Okay, let me thread a needle. Oh, I already had one threaded. How fortuitous. I'm going to hand stitch this closed as invisibly as I can. With tiny diagonal stitches. Just grabbing the top layer of the padded portion and then a tiny stitch on the back so it will barely show. Does anyone else notice that Gutermann thread is very twisty? It doesn't bother me until I'm hand stitching. Here we go. There's a hair in there. Get out. Oh, it's like a fuzz. Okay. The last step is to attach the other side of the Velcro. And so I like to make sure it's going to meet up. So I'm going to go stitch this on right here. It's done. I'm going to go give it one more firm press and then I'm going to go find my sunglasses and try it on. I found them. Perfect fit. So now I have one for my real glasses for my bathroom drawer. I have one for my sunglasses for my car, and I have one for my sunglasses for my purse. So maybe now I can treat myself to some nice polarized sunnies. I wanted to give one quick tip. If you need to make this bigger or smaller, in my experience, this size has fit everything I've ever owned. But if you like those really giant sunglasses, you might have to make it just a tad bigger. So I wouldn't go too much bigger. I think just a 1/2 inch wider to start would probably be good. And if you wanted to make one for a child's pair of sunglasses, I think you could use the same width, maybe a 1/2 inch narrower, but make it by maybe 1 inch shorter. But if you have the sunglasses with you, you can sort of gauge and try it on. But this, I think, will fit almost every pair of glasses and sunglasses for men or women. I hope this has been fun for you. It has been for me, and I'm very happy to have finally gotten around to this project that I've been wanting to do for probably years. Honestly, it's ridiculous. So I will see you all soon. Bye.